Welcome to the Grave Matters. This week we will dive into a Halloween crime, the Halloween Cousins, a 25-year hunt for a killer. On Halloween night 1984, two young cousins knocked on their final door. 12-year-old Sherry Gordon and 10-year-old Teresa Hall disappeared into the darkness while collecting candy, their laughter silenced forever by a predator lurking in the shadows. Their deaths would terrorize an entire community. Parents kept their children home for years. The killer vanished without a trace. But this monster made one fatal mistake. He left behind evidence that would haunt him long after death. October 31st, 1984, Decatur, Illinois. A rainy Halloween night couldn't dampen the excitement of children racing from door to door in their costumes, pillowcases filling with candy. Among them were Sherry Gordon, 12, and her younger cousin Teresa Hall, just 10 years old. Best friends as much as cousins, the girls were inseparable. Their families trusted them to stay together, to watch out for each other. But someone was watching them too. Somewhere in their neighborhood, as darkness fell and rain pattered on the pavement, Sherry and Teresa encountered a man. We don't know if he offered them candy. We don't know if he seemed friendly at first. What we know is this: by the time their families realized the girls hadn't come home, it was already too late. The discovery of their bodies sent shockwaves through Decatur. Both girls had been assaulted and murdered. The Halloween celebration turned into a nightmare that would define an entire generation's childhood in that community. Panic gripped the neighborhood. Parents who once let their children roam freely now kept them inside. The tradition of trick or treating an innocent rite of passage became tainted with terror. More than a week passed before Sherry and Teresa could be laid to rest in Greenwood Cemetery, their small coffins a devastating reminder that monsters are real. Detectives worked around the clock. They interviewed neighbors, followed leads, checked alibis. But the killer had left no witnesses, no clear evidence pointing to his identity. The investigation grew cold. Years passed, then decades. The families never stopped asking, who took their daughters? Who destroyed their innocence on what should have been a night of childhood joy? What police didn't know was that the man who murdered Sherry and Teresa wasn't finished. 6 months after the Halloween murders, 25-year-old Sandra Hobson was found dead in her apartment by her 5-year-old son. She'd been assaulted, smothered with a pillow, and stabbed repeatedly. An innocent man was arrested based on the traumatized child's testimony, but eventually acquitted. The real killer walked free. Then, in 1988, another murder. This time the victim was John Woods, stabbed to death in his own home. The crime scene was staged to look like a burglary. Again, police had a suspect, Melvin Johnson, Woods' partner. He even had a knife that matched the murder weapon, but there wasn't enough evidence to charge him. Johnson had been in and out of prison since 1978 for violent crimes, including child abuse. He'd been paroled just 2 years before Sherry and Teresa's murders. He was living in Decatur. He couldn't provide alibis, but without concrete proof, he remained free. Melvin Johnson eventually ended up in a Texas prison on unrelated charges. In October 2003, he died there, killed by a combination of stomach cancer and AIDS. He was 45 years old. He'd never been convicted of murder. But death has a way of revealing secrets. Johnson's DNA was entered into CODIS, the National Criminal DNA Database. And in February 2009, 25 years after Halloween 1984, the system pinged a match. Melvin Johnson had murdered Sherry Gordon and Teresa Hall. 7 months later, another match, Sandra Hobson. Then another, John Woods. The monster had a name. The phantom who'd terrorized Decatur was finally identified: 4 murders, 3 sexually motivated. But he'd escaped justice by dying first. The families finally had answers, but those answers brought little comfort. Sherry and Teresa never got to grow up. Sandra Hobson's son had to live with the trauma of finding his mother's body. An innocent man spent years under suspicion for a crime he didn't commit. And Melvin Johnson? He died never having to face his victims' families, never having to answer for stealing those Halloween nights, those futures, those lives. Halloween in Decatur was never the same. Even now, when children dress up and collect candy, some residents remember the year that trick-or-treating ended in tragedy, and the killer who got away with it, at least in life. If you found this case as haunting as I did, subscribe for more true crime stories that refuse to be forgotten. What case should I cover next? Let me know in the comments below.